Hello, YouTube. This is the Galley La Podcast, and today we are going to be reviewing Chapter 1055 of One Piece, titled "The New Age." And as the usual, you got Akainu Fanboy here and Geboss, and please like the video, subscribe if you haven't. Thank you. And so we're resuming from last chapter with the conflict with Green Bull. Momo saying, "Yamato, you gotta stay out," and he's getting his ass beaten a little bit by Green Bull. Uh, and what I did kind of find interesting in the first part is when Raizo uses his Kage level fire attack,
Hmm.
he was kind of able to brush it off. Um, so it kind of seems like elemental attacks, elemental weaknesses don't really affect Green Bull in the same way, as you would see like with the other characters. Let's say NL and Luffy, for example, with those elemental weaknesses.
Yeah. Speaking of that, it would be interesting to see like if the how Green Bull would have been fighting against Sabo, because Sabo's also uses fire, and I just by we know how strong Raizo is. He's the Kage of the One Piece universe, but probably Sabo's stronger than him, so that could be a reason why we swear this isn't coping for the admirals, them getting away. Okay, this might be a little coping. In the last chapter, they didn't say that they lost against Sabo and the revolutionaries. They said that they escaped with Kuma.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, yeah, I mean, we do see a little later in the chapter that certain, I guess, fire-based attacks do work.
But you could say that's more of an explosion rather than like fire, per se.
Yeah.
Because like blast breath is kind of, at least in the anime, he blew up all those mountains and everything like that. That was kind of more, I'd say the emphasis of the elemental emphasis of that type of attack and everything. But like a pure fire attack from Raizo just didn't really do anything at all, and then he gets dehydrated pretty quickly. And I'm not sure if he's like killed by the end of this chapter. Maybe I'd have to look through it again, but it doesn't seem that way. So I don't know if it's just kind of a gag or anything, or they're gonna have to re-heal him.
No, it looks like Denjiro's like holding him, but I don't think he's dead.
Oh yeah, not dead, but like I'm wondering how you treat that, I guess, or what specifically is he doing as an attack. But the scabbards do get, I'll say low diff in the sense that they've been incapacitated pretty quickly, and if other events didn't happen, I think it would have been more of an issue. But before we get into that, we want to like talk about the castle basement. I really enjoyed the art in this scene. I thought it was really cool. But do you want to like analyze this a bit?
Yeah. So we get the revelation about what opening the borders of Wano actually pertained to, because I don't know. Before, I never really actually thought about it. I thought it was kind of like opening back up communications with the world in large, but it seems that it's literally like opening, like bringing down the walls around Wano, to reveal this ancient Wano that's below the water level. So I don't know, that recontextualizes everything that we've heard before, like in Odin's flashback and everything, and even like when Zunisha showed up for opening the borders. So I don't know. I think it's really cool how Oda did this. And it kind of shows how important Wano is, because, I mean, once the borders are open, you'll have access to Pluton, which is down, sunken below Wano right now. So there's a lot
kind of
theorizing about what it could
right. And do you think Kaido was hoping? Do you think Kaido knew about all this, and that's why he wanted to drop new Onigashima maybe, and this is how they were going to destroy the world, you know? Or do you think he was ignorant about this?
Well, we know that Jack found the poneglyph because he could survive down there. Although, to be fair, I think it's funny because Jack can't swim. So I think they literally just dropped him down there just to see what was around and hoisted him back up. But
they probably don't have much in the way of non-devil fruit users because the pleasures and the gifters and all that. You know,
and even like fishmen because
because
of the racist who's who, keeping them all out. But anyway, but yeah, and this might just be I need to see the picture again, but this could potentially be how Kaido and Big Mom survive, because there's this whole area underneath Onigashima.
That's true.
Of Wano. So I'm just saying,
it's possible. Like I said, I think handled terribly, but whatever. If that were to happen, we'll see. Maybe I shouldn't be too presumptuous on that, but it's cool to see kind of Law and Robin interact and kind of they're still have this desire to know the history and things like that. So I did enjoy it, and like I said, the architecture under here was really cool, ancient, mysterious. Enjoyed it a lot, and it was cool to establish a dual purpose with the walls too. And that there, this is in a tradition passed down through the Shogun, so this can potentially go back to the Void Century, and then you get Kozuki Odin learning something in particular too about this. So I'd say like those are my quick thoughts on that. But yeah.
So do you think that Odin knew about the borders, and that's why he was trying to, like, since he knew everything about the Void Century? Do you think that's why he wanted to open the borders?
Yeah, but I think also just doing it for the sake of doing it. But that's an interesting question, because I think he had the recognition, like, hey, this isn't the time to do it. This would be really premature for me to do this.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm wondering if, maybe, I don't know. But like when it comes to Whitebeard, he didn't invade because he didn't want to destroy the borders, which would then give access to this weapon to the world. I don't know if Whitebeard was thinking like that. That's a potential. If you kind of wanted to write that in, that was the real reason why he did rescue Odin and everyone. But not sure about that. But I don't know. Those are kind of my general thoughts of this section, though.
Yeah, I think that when you look at just the connections between Alabasta, there has to be like a connection between Alabasta and Wano, because Alabasta had where the poneglyph that's saying that Pluton was in Wano, and Joy Boy with Fishman Island and Poseidon being there, and we still don't know anything about the third one was Uranus, right? Yeah, so yeah, we're still, because I know people were theorizing that like Momonosuke was going to be Pluton or something like that, because with Shirahoshi we know that the ancient weapons can be kind of whatever at this point. Like Shirahoshi is a person and she's a weapon, so
yeah.
But and it's kind of interesting to see how Zunisha plays a part in this, because Zunisha would know about the history of this as well. Like particularly like who built it, because all Odin's father said was at some point the walls were erected. Like if you look at like how big Mount Fuji is, like that's like it's probably not as big as the Red Line, but it's pretty tall. So
yeah, right.
There could be the connection with the Red Line and building the borders around Wano, And I mean, Zunisha could probably open the borders for Wano here, but
Yeah.
you probably need something like Pluton to do something with the red line.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah. So division kind of seems to be the way, and I think it's a good transition to talk about how Green Bull sees the world where when it comes to nature and hierarchy and order, that's how you keep stability. But he said, like, at least with Kaido, like, there was an order imposed, that was deterred to keep out other predators. And he's like, okay, now we're this new order that's gonna, stop you from getting attacked now too. Which I kind of think is interesting, like I said, I think with Akainu, like, one little distinction here, Akainu isn't as much focused on the order because the order kind of pisses him off because it gets in the way of him killing pirates, Green Bull's kind of like, no, we need an order to, and he's like, he hates people that go against order, but he's kind of more of an emphasis there. And it was kind of, so again, he's more focused on Straw Hats, and it's interesting to see Yamato kind of get off-screened, put down a little bit while he's attacking all the other scabbards too.
I mean,
so
to be fair, Momo said, like, don't attack him.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, you can still dodge an evade though. Yeah, but I mean, it is interesting to see how, I guess, power scaling wise, what that would do for her, because a lot of people thought she was like proximate to Kaido, and then you kind of see this in her position where she can't break free. So it's just an interesting power scaling note right there a little bit. And even Yamato's like, okay, let's just call the Straw Hats for help. Kind of like, we can't do this by ourselves in a way,
Yeah.
And then you kind of get Momo saying, like, now's your chance to leave. We can't rely on the others. And I will say, like, this gives more credence to the idea that Yamato is going to join. And at the same time, it's like, but at the end of this chapter, the resolution, they're still relying on Shanks to defend themselves, So in a way, it kind of undercuts everything, because they weren't able to push them out by themselves, Like, you could say, yeah, this moment helped Momo grow to do a blast breath, sure, but they're still pretty weak, especially without Yamato, if Yamato's gone, Who knows, maybe like a couple Vice Admirals could roll up and take over this place, It's just kind of not super impressive, I guess. Yeah. I mean, especially if the Blackbeard pirates rolled up, to get this point, it's over, So I don't really see how this issue of Wano being weak, that Green Bull is pointing out too, it hasn't been resolved by the end of this chapter. If anything, the situation is going to get worse if Yamato leaves. But those are kind of my thoughts on that portion.
I mean, the scabbards are still, how long has it been? A week since the end of Onigashima? I mean, they don't have the Straw Hat recovery where they could literally drink milk and regrow bones. So, but yeah, I think they're weaker at this point, and I think Yamato's just trying not to break free because Momo told her not to do that. And then I don't know. I will say that it is harder for people because the way that people were being let in, like CP0 and everything, was because Kaido was inviting them in. Whereas if they completely seal off all the entrances and kind of be self-sufficient, like only small groups, like Green Bull's in here by himself, and I don't know necessarily if they could hold him off indefinitely, but I don't see that they would be able to be invaded as easily.
And maybe some guys, it just takes a couple Marines with Geppo, a skywalk, and they just like climb over, like, it's not super out of the realm of possibilities, like for the Marines to do an aerial attack or anything like that. But yeah, it's just. But you could say, but the Marines have a lot of other things to focus on. I'm just saying, the way this was resolved, it wasn't from the strength of Wano, it was because of Shank. Is what I'm trying to get across. Like Momo says, we can't rely on them. Well, you kind of just relied on Shanks instead.
Well,
to get out of it.
Yeah. Well, we can kind of transition into talking about that then. about Shanks.
But I did like the art of Green Bull regenerating from a little plant too.
Yeah.
It's a cool form again. I
Mm-hmm.
thought that was kind of cool, interesting. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So he got shook by Shanks. Shanks's Conqueror's hockey. Yeah, he definitely got nervous and everything for sure.
So I don't know. I was kind of, I felt like we were missing something, or I don't know, because we see the Conquerors reach all the way from wherever Shanks is to mainland Wando, and like Green Bull recognizes that it's Conqueror's hockey, but then he specifically knows that it's Shanks's hockey.
Yeah.
So has he had some? Does Shanks have a way? Because it just seems like Shanks is talking directly to him at this point.
Yeah.
Like, I won't call you Marines cowardly, but does this new age frighten you that much? So I don't know. I don't know if that's like a new form of observation hockey that it's like the inverse of like Kobe's, where he can hear the thoughts of people. He can like project his thoughts into other people or make them hear his words. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about this resolution either. It just seems kind of like he dips. But to be fair, he is, like, people are like downplaying Green Bull and everything. Like, he's not even that injured. He's leaving because he's literally he's by himself and up against 2 Yonko crews. Because Luffy was ready to roll up with Sanji and Zoro and Jinbei. And he's up against like the Scabbards and Yamato and Momo, and he's just by himself. Like, I don't even know necessarily if Akainu could go up against Luffy and Shanks at the same time. Like, if he's threatening them like that.
Yeah, and I don't think even Blackbeard could either.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, if you're going against, I'd say, 2 Yonko or 2 Admirals at once, then I think you're probably just gonna lose. That's just kind of the power dynamic there, and I think, so how can I say this? Oda's doing a lot of hyping. So he hypes up Green Bull by using King and Queen, and then he hypes up Shanks by scaring Green Bull. And then, so Green Bull's, display was pretty short-lived. It was like he was here for like 3 chapters. And then, so my concern is this just hyping up Shanks is because we're not going to be seeing too much of him. So Oda's just kind of give us some red meat, and then just kind of move on in a way. That's just kind of a thought here. Because I'm kind of more the position, like, okay, so, and also he obviously brought in Shanks here for film bread to kind of time this all together too. I'm more concerned that the red hair pirates, we're not going to see much of them, and they may or more or less slightly be off screen by the Blackbeard pirates. And this is just Oda giving us red meat, basically, to hype up Shanks before he gets taken out.
I still don't think, there's no way that they would do that off screen.
I'd say partially. Like, we see some fighting, and then we just don't see the end result, kind of thing. That's just kind of a thought.
Yeah.
This just feels very, very red meat. You're kind of feeding the base, Like, just trying to get people hyped up is what I'm trying to say. No. Which makes me think he's not going to be around either proximately in the story, like he's not going to meet up with the Straw Hats now, or he might not be in the story much or later on. So those are just kind of my thoughts, because for a way, I mean, okay, you could say the Yonko saga has been ended. The Old Order hasn't been completely taken out. Like, Shanks is the last one, the Old Order.
Well, quote unquote Old Order, because he's been a Yonko like 4 or 5 years at this point.
Yeah, but like how they were originally introduced to us, basically, you know, the original four.
Yeah.
Whitebeard, Shanks, Kaido, Big Mom, you know.
Yeah. But I mean, this could also be a reminder of even how much farther Luffy has to grow at this point. Like, he's a Yonko right now, but he's still he still has to. We see just a glimpse of Shanks's power that can scare off an admiral just by flexing, basically. So I think Oda's giving us a taste of that for Shanks, and we're going to see more of that later. I think that's what he's teasing us with.
Yeah, it's possible. I do, on a thematic level, I think it is interesting where Shanks is the only one that's done this to make other people sweat and make high tiers run away. Big Mom, Kaido, and Whitebeard didn't do that. Like, Whitebeard, the other admirals weren't really phased at all by him. Kizaru was willing to fight Kizaru and Big Mom. But Shanks is the only one that kind of scares people away. Because, like, I mean, even with Kizaru, with Ben Beckman, he still attacked the submarine after the gun was pointed at him. Like, it didn't even phase him.
Yeah.
You know? So, now, bringing in my fanboyness, the only admiral that's kind of scared of Yonko, quote-unquote, would be Blackbeard and his whole crew, you know? And I know people are trying recently to downplay that. But, you know, yeah, you could say Blackbeard hasn't been familiar with the two fruits, but it's him, his whole crew, and he has two of the strongest fruits in the verse, and they just take off running, you know? And the only people Blackbeard's really, like, run away from is Shanks and Akainu, which is an interesting dynamic there. So, I know some people were saying Green Bull was stronger than Kizaru, and yeah, he's one of the strongest, because you get it kind of caught in the moment and all this stuff, but I think it's also pretty clear that him and Fuji are the weaker ones, just because they've had their fruits not as long, basically. You know, compared to, like, Kizaru, Aokiji, Akainu, they're the OG3, they're seasoned, and they've had their fruits for extensive period of times. At the very least, when they're vice admirals on, they've had those fruits, you know, as we've seen in flashbacks. Yeah. So, I'm not surprised, because Green Bull is kind of like, if you were to look at it, higher version of a commander for a Yonko crew. That's kind of the way to look at it. So this is kind of like Queen kind of getting scared by Big Mom in a way. That's how I view it. And then I see Akainu kind of like the Yonko of the Marine crew, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because he's the fleet admiral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I view the dynamic of powers here. Does it look like a great showing for Green Bull? No, but then at the same time, we just saw him wipe the floor with two commanders not too long ago either. So, you know, but like you said, he's going against two Yonko crew. Like, I don't think there's any characters that could survive two Yonko crew at once.
Yeah.
There's no one. So, like, of course he's going to dip out, you know. But yeah, it was cool to see Zoro, Sanji, Jinbei. Like, those were his three top commanders, how it looks like, you know?
Yeah. I like that Jinbei was in there, ready to square off.
Yeah, it's cool to see those three together. It feels like Jinbei's going to be the third commander. I mean, like, that's my personal preference, obviously, but just kind of the way that panel looks there, you know? It kind of seems like Oda's setting that up.
Yeah, kind of like how Shanks has Lucky Roo, Beckman, and Yasop.
Yeah,
those are like those. But just looking at the one panel when Shanks is describing the new generation, it's like Luffy, Momo, Hiyori, and it looks like the silhouette of Uta from Film Red. So I think she's like quasi canon, like Shiki is now.
Yeah, yeah.
Do we even get like confirmation of like Zephyr being that?
I'd have to look into that. I've heard mixed things.
Yeah.
I want Zephyr to be canon though.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I know people were clowning on Green Bull for this, but I don't necessarily see it that way. But I'm not too thrilled about how it ended. But it looks like we're going to be going into a new phase, like a new story arc probably after this. Because this is like the wrap up for maybe like one or two more chapters. Like we don't have a break next week, so that might be the final wrap up. But
yeah, we might finally get the bounties next week.
Yeah. But yeah, yeah. The most interesting part for me for this episode was the Pluton and the borders stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm glad that we had more answers on that.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
Because I think it was either this past week. It might have been in between the chapters, but I think it came out that Oda said that the series would be ending in 3 years. And yeah, a lot's gonna happen in those 3 years.
Yeah. So no, yeah, we're definitely in the last 100 meter, right? We're in getting close to the finish line, and that's it, you know. But yeah, any closing thoughts? I thought it was a pretty good chapter overall. I think some things could have been handled a little better, but overall it was a good one.
Yeah. I mean, we might see Yamato officially join next chapter. Rip
and
the
Jinbei.
Oh yeah, and rip the Carrot fans. We're having a hard time.
You are not. I don't want to be included in the work.
Has she even been seen in like the party scenes at all?
Yeah, I think she's actually popped up a couple times. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
If it doesn't mean anything, I'd prefer Carrot over Yamato, which is controversial. But yeah, we could get into more another time perhaps. But anyways.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening / watching. Leave a like, subscribe, and we will see you all next week. Peace.
See ya.